Hello, welcome back. I'm Nathan.
I'm Lauren.
And this is your April 26th 4Thought. Thanks for clicking the link and taking the time. Today we're gonna change things up a little bit.
I know mixing it up, keeping it fresh.
We did do the split screen thing now. We're doing something different to kind of change things up in our communications too. We hope you're enjoying it. And also today, in the spirit and the theme of 4Thought, the name of our newsletter, we're gonna break this up into kind of 4 segments. So we'll talk about 4 different things. I'll take a couple, Lauren will take a couple, maybe we'll ask each other some questions on each and kind of get some feedback. And we're incorporating obviously things that we want to communicate to you in this, and obviously the feedback that we get from you. A lot of the things we're hearing from you are incorporated into these things. So first thing I'll talk about is just kind of market thought. Then we'll talk a little bit about risk thought, planning thought, and then we'll end with our forward thought. So
looking into the future.
Looking into the future, living in the future, as Lauren loves to say. I like that. I
only have 2 catchphrases. You got them both memorized.
We're gonna have T-shirts. We gotta get some merch. So I'll take market thought, and I know we're filming this days in advance of you actually viewing this. Yeah. So keep in mind when we're talking about the market, things can change. Obviously, things can change
Impossible
pretty quickly
to talk about the market without, just like you said, it changing, because it could change in 15 minutes, it could change in a day, it could change in a week.
But I guess the general theme, what we've seen over the last several weeks leading into this video, is the market's experiencing a pullback. Yeah. So it might be 5-6%, depending on which index you're looking at. If you're looking at the widely quoted index or what day, so the S&P 500, the Dow, or the NASDAQ. They're all down off their highs, 5-6%, maybe NASDAQ's a little bit more, and could be different by the time you're viewing this. But those are all normal. That's a normal kind of correction. Our chief investment officer shared with us at the onset of the recent geopolitical event that we're experiencing right now, that when you go through these periods over the last 50 years, they're typically 2 to 3 weeks in nature before the market kind of bottoms and realizes, okay, looking past what's going on currently. And also they're between 5 and 7%. So we're kind of right in that range of where it normally is. It doesn't mean that this is the bottom for short-term correction.
It could roll over into a full correction of 10%. We don't know. We're not in the business of trying to predict that in the short term.
That's right. And we're also seeing another thing that has changed recently is just leadership. We talked a lot about concentration in the index and why you don't own the index, but the tech and AI kind of trade, that's kind of taken a back seat over the last few weeks. And now you've seen U.S. value stocks take leadership. And international was leading last year. Now you've seen U.S. stocks really more take leadership.
I heard the term was coined, halo, right? Companies that have a lot of
asset. What is it?
No, you do it. You.
No, it's heavy asset, low
obsolescence, right?
Thank you. Low obsolescence. Yes. So I think the last thing that I'll wrap up with market, just a market kind of planning update, is, the coming into the year, I think the Federal Reserve was widely thought that they were going to cut rates 2 or 3 times, and I think that has changed a little bit as of late. We've had some inflation reports that
Powell keeps breaking my heart, Nathan. I keep hoping I'm going to refinance that mortgage, and then
so many people want
there goes my dreams
to go lower, and it's just not happening. So we're going to have to wait a little bit longer. And the good news is, I think it still looks like they're planning to cut rates, but it's probably not going to be as much, and it's probably not going to be as soon as we originally thought. Yeah. Now, wrapping up market thought, I think, short-term pullbacks are normal. We're in a short-term pullback. I mean, it's just been a matter of weeks, and we've come off all-time highs. But speaking of risk, I know a lot of people like to talk about, well, how much risk am I taking? What's the risk in the market? Am I taking the appropriate risk? How do you think about risk? And when you're conversing, when you're meeting with clients, what are they bringing up to you in terms of risks? And are they thinking about things in the right way? Are they framing risk in the appropriate way?
Yeah. I'll try to organize my thoughts logically, but that's not my forte, because there's so many thoughts when people say risk to me. And just what you said, is that the risk of the market going down? Is that the risk of their assets not being there when they need it? Is it the risk of AI taking all of our jobs? And I heard this again from a couple talking heads, and I thought it was right on the nose. I thought they did a great job saying that if these are the risks that everybody's talking about, those probably aren't the real risks that are going to negatively impact your portfolio over a longer time frame. But let's address those just quickly. And you nailed it again, Nathan. If someone's talking to us, if this recent pullback, which is never fun, never easy, but it is a 5% pullback, if that's something that's causing you a lot of concern, and we've reviewed the plan, and your plan is more than on track because you had those 3 good years, and you say, hey, maybe this is a time to de-risk in the marketplace, we don't want you to think, oh, because the market's down, we're not going to de-risk your portfolio. Not whatsoever. But if a market pullback is causing you to want to derail your plan by de-risking the portfolio, that's what we probably think the real risk is. So
a market timing type of thing where I don't feel good about what's happening right now.
That is definitely a huge risk, is market timing.
Right.
And then if we're talking about, risks that we're not seeing, I think that's something that I can probably talk more about in the forward thought. I think here we should, because we talked about a few of these risks, we should probably talk about what do we do about these. So here's the risks that exist. What are we doing about those?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, we work with clients and we put together a financial plan. So we're gathering all the important things that we need to know about you so that we can put together a portfolio that is, as we say, objective based. So we have an objective based portfolio we're running for you. So when you see news that I just quoted to you at the onset of this video about the market, and you think about the index, right? They're like the S&P and the Dow and the NASDAQ. Well, those are the 3, broadly most quoted indices, and that's great. And it's important to know what they're doing. It's important to know what the weather is outside, but I'm not standing outside in the weather right now. So I think it gives us context, but it also, it's important to note that you don't own specifically just an index of stocks. And it's by design, right? So we're building a portfolio that's more sturdy than maybe just owning the S&P. And that's not to say that you couldn't own the index and the market's going to go up over a long period of time, but we're trying to customize things based upon what you're telling us your runway is, your risk tolerance is, your needs are. What do you want to accomplish over a certain period of time? And then we're mapping that over to a portfolio that makes sense. So it's not about, planning is great, but the plan changes too, right? So the plan is flexible. You're going to make changes along the way.
Never static.
But you got to you have gone through the process of the plan. I think that's kind of one of the most important things. And it can help you, if you're going through that process, to know, hey, I'm on track. I'm doing things like you said. We've had several good years in a row, back to back to back. And okay, a lot of people, we talked about this in the last video, are ahead of schedule, right? So they're doing very, very well in progress towards those goals in the plan.
And it's tough to see that in the moment because you hear that we're down or the market's down, and you're going through a lot of geopolitical risk, and people are pulling at those strings, right? Pulling at those fears. And those are the people that always sound the smartest, right? They have these ideas and these scenarios.
Always. The negative thing is the headline, right? And you want to sound really smart, go out and say like,
here's this could happen, that's terrible. This could happen, that's terrible. It's the goofy person like me that says, hey, dark storm clouds are here, but tomorrow the sun's going to come out and there'll be nothing to worry about. No one wants to hear that when they think the sky is falling. So I think that's a big deal. That's difficult to kind of push through that, but also hyper important. So hopefully that kind of ties into my forward thought. Always difficult to think about, when you're in the middle of something like we are today, what's going to happen in a month from now? What's going to happen in 6 months from now? What's going to happen in a year from now, 5, 10, 20, etc. And that's really what we're planning for. So Nathan and I, just like you said, we have internal teams that we're talking all the time about what's going on. We all try to do our own research and due diligence. I was kind of laughing because I talked to Nathan today about a podcast that we both had listened to at exactly the same time.
We're on the same wavelength. We're listening to great content.
And the person on that literally said, hey, all of this could end with a tweet or a truth or a whatever from the administration. And literally the next day that happened, and intraday the market was up 1,000 points. So I think my forward thought for this month is try to put yourself in that position, not what's happening today, not a worst case scenario, but what could happen if your plan got derailed and you were on the sidelines and the market recovered like it's done so many times.
And like it just did a year ago, almost to the day, last year with all the tariffs that were announced. And what happened, and then the market pivoted, and then it went higher basically for the rest of the year. And what happened if you had made a decision at that moment that you said, I don't feel good about this? Of course, that happened very quickly, so a lot of people didn't even have time to think about it, but I think that's an important thing to know.
Yeah, and now we have a lot more time to think about it, which, like Nathan said, can be our worst enemy. So remember, we're here, we're in your corner, we have the same goals and objectives that you do, and that's that you maximize your life, maximize the legacy that you have, that you want to put into place. So anything we can do to help, please reach out to us, and we'd be happy to talk to you about anything. If you emotionally feel like you need our support, or if you intellectually need the numbers and the data that back up our presuppositions, then we're there to do that for you. So thanks again. Every week, every month, every year, you give us the time that we need to help you, and that helps us. So I want to say thanks.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.